FIA World Endurance Championship, in short, WEC. Founded in 2012 and adhering to the rules and guidelines of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the World Championship delivers a unique concept in motorsports. Cars from 3 different categories are subdivided into 5 classes, and all the cars race together, and that with a freedom that no other racing series in the world can offer.
It is not a monotype formula. We want to have, in the same race, open, closed car, different technologies such as diesel, gasoline, or even to have professional drivers with gentleman driver, men, women. We want to have everything in the same race.
The World Championship takes place on 8 of the most spectacular tracks in the world over 4 continents. The center of the World Championship is probably the best-known racetrack in the world, the Circuit de l'Estade, located approximately 200 kilometers southwest of Paris. The 24-hour race on the 13.629-kilometer classic track is the gold standard of endurance races.
It is a real test of man and machine. Us humans, we like to hear about people conquering certain big challenges, and Le Mans, without question, is one of the big challenges in sport.
Le Mans is like the Himalaya for the mountain. This is the top of the world. If you win Le Mans, you can say that you are on the top of the endurance. And WEC, this is we modelize Le Mans, and we try to bring this concept all around the world.
With the exception of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the 7 remaining races in the FIA calendar are each 6 hours. The opening of the 2013 season takes place in the British town of Silverstone, the home of British motor racing. In contrast to the last year, this year the top favorite LMP1 cars are all hybrid concept cars from the start. Despite this common ground, the individual approach of the manufacturers couldn't be more different. Toyota once again goes with the rear-drive gasoline engine concept with a switchable electric drive in the rear axle. Audi, however, transfers the switchable electric power to the front axle, so when that's activated together with the rear axle powered by the turbo diesel engine, then it becomes a quattro drive. The differences between the car concepts can already be seen over the first racing weekend. Toyota has both of its cars starting at the front of the opening race. But the tides turn after only a few minutes into the race. Alan McNish in the number 2 Audi passes Anthony Davidson first, and then shortly after also passes Alexander Wurz. And the second car from Ingolstadt is also in top form. Starting from 5th position, the defending champion is also able to pass the Japanese competition. A fierce intra-brand duel for victory takes place up front, and shortly after the middle of the race, it looks like Andre Lauderer's bold overtaking maneuver will claim victory for his team. But Alan McNish counterattacks 5 minutes before the end of the race to reclaim the lead for his team. The first victory of the year goes to the trio of Loic Duval, Tom Christensen, and Alan McNish, who are especially happy to also receive the Tourist Trophy, which has been awarded for 108 years. The reigning world champions Marcel Fessler, Andre Lauterer, and Benoit Trellier finished the race in 2nd place and helped claim the first manufacturer 1-2 victory of the season for Audi.
We had strong performance on both cars from the beginning to the end of the race, and to start the WEC season with a double victory is a perfect start.
The The second European stop of the season is in the Belgian town of Spa. Not only a race, but also traditionally the final dress rehearsal for the highlight of the year in Le Mans. The top teams each enter a special custom-built car for the 24-hour classic race as the ultimate test in Spa. Audi's additional Le Mans long-tail version is driven by the driving trio of Lucas de Grassi, Marc Genet, and Oliver Jarvis, who start the race sandwiched between their brand colleagues. The start of the race on the Ardennes roller coaster is as heated as the weather. Both Toyotas make a move on the Audi trio directly after the rolling start, and they're successful. André Lotterer extends too far out at La Source and gives up the lead to Loic Duval. Nicolas Lapierre in the number 7 Toyota moves up to the second position, with Marc Genet following in third and André Lotterer only being able to make it up to fourth. It's anything but an ideal start to the race for the German driver, but after his mistake he's en route with an extra portion of ambition. After a number of daring deeds which advances him forward one position at a time, the 31-year-old finally reclaims his lead at the head of the pack. Toyota, however, is less successful and having some serious problems, which ultimately causes the number 7 car to drop out of the race. The manufacturer from Ingolstadt ends the second race of the season in Spa with a confident hat trick. Fessler, Lotterer, and Trellier take the lead in the overall championship ranking by 1 point ahead of Duval, Christensen, and McNish.
Bien sûr, en l'honneur des vainqueurs, c'est l'hymne national allemand, l'hymne national d'Audi que l'on va écouter.
From Audi's point of view, it's a perfect final dress rehearsal for the approaching highlight of the season, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The city of Le Mans is located in the northwest of France and has approximately 145,000 residents. The city is also synonymous with the most famous endurance race in the world. 5 days before the start of the race, the WEC enters the city for the scrutineering. And a day before the race, the Drivers' Parade finally transforms the city into the ultimate mecca of motorsports. The excited motorsports fans seamlessly make their way from every corner of the city into the pit lane. 2013 marks the 90th time the classic race takes place, and it's electrifying for all participants, both on and off the track.
I think it is the tradition of it, the history of it. It's 90 years this year. The feeling, the event, from scrutineering the whole week, the race itself, the quality. There's a beauty to it that is just, it's so much fun to be a part of.
The 90th anniversary race begins at 3 p.m. and the first attacks among the leading quintet take place directly after the start. André Lotterer advances from the outside as Alain McNish tries to hold him back, but André Lotterer slips past his brand colleague. Toyota puts the pressure on Lucas de Grassi and Alain McNish, which ultimately results in Nicolas Lapierre overtaking both cars for the time being. 9 minutes into the race, everyone's shocked by Alan Simonson's tragic accident in his Aston Martin. The Dane dies from his injuries a short time later at the medical center. The race resumes after the shock in the first safety car phase. A fierce duel for position takes place as the race continues. The number 1 Audi is able to continue its lead until last year's winner is forced into the pit for repairs. The defending champion makes it back into the race several laps behind the leading car, but it's just too much to win the race. The last big accident in the race, filled with safety car phases, is the number 7 Toyota sliding off the track 75 minutes before the end of the race. Fortunately, Nicolas Lapierre was not harmed. The trio of Loic Duval, Tom Christensen, and Alan McNish are able to keep the remaining Toyota behind in second position and ultimately claim an historic win for themselves and their team. The 12th overall win at Le Mans for Audi and the 9th win for Mr. Le Mans Tom Christensen, who has obviously been affected by the tragedy in the race.
I went into this race, I wanted really to race for my dad because he passed away this year. But if I just imagine myself sitting down having a little Danish beer with Alan and my dad, then we would both agree that I should try to win this race with Audi for Alan. And this is what we did. So you don't call that a happy ending.
The 90th anniversary race in Le Mans is history. Loic Duval, Tom Christensen, and Alan McNish head to South America with a wide 30-point lead in the championship ranking for the race in the Brazilian city of Sao Paulo. Interlagos, the track between the lakes, is presented with plenty of samba in front of countless fans. At 12 noon local time, the race is on and the cars tear up the counterclockwise track with a flying start. And as expected, the first attack comes directly after the start of the race. Alan McNish passes Marcel Fessler at the entrance of the Senna S-curve and takes the lead. But there's a reason Fessler was passed so quickly.
At the beginning I was not so happy because the start lights were not working, so there were no green, I didn't see any red and no switching to green, so I lost the position. This makes me a little bit angry.
Then the race appears to calm down a bit, until this scene. Stefan Sarazan tries to pass and ends up colliding into Dominique Kreihammer's LMP2 Lotus, who lost the rear of his car in the curve. They both slam hard into the pile of tires, and fortunately they're both unharmed. But consequently, the Toyota's forced to drop out of the race. The safety car finally pulls off the track after almost an hour, only to get back on the track after 10 minutes due to the number 71 AF Corsa Ferrari catching fire. The Ferrari driver's also fortunately not injured. But then a scheduled pit stop results in a severe setback for the number 2 Audi. One of the wheels detaches at the end of the pit lane and consequently the car needs to return to the box several times. After 9 stops, the car leading in the overall ranking is 4 laps behind an hour before the end of the race, but still in second place. And the manufacturer from Ingolstadt manages to keep it that way until the end.
I think it never happened before that a race car that lost a wheel brought its wheel back to the pits. I think that's something special.
Matthias Besch, Nick Heidfeld, and Nicholas Prost achieved their best results of the season in Sao Paulo. The Rebellion Racing drivers are in first place in the private team ranking, but it's not only because they finished the South American race in 3rd place. Just like in Spa-Francorchamps, the victory in Sao Paulo goes to Marcel Fessler, André Latre, and Benoit Trellier. Loic Duval, Tom Christensen, and Alan McNish finish second and give the manufacturer from Ingolstadt another 1-2 victory this weekend. The Le Mans winners' overall lead in the ranking drops down slightly to 22 points ahead of the defending champions as they make their way to North America. For the first time, the WEC includes Austin, Texas in its season. The Circuit of the Americas is located approximately 23 kilometers southeast of the city, a racetrack that includes passages of classic tracks like Hockenheim, Silverstone, Sao Paulo, and Istanbul combined with new elements. The 5th race of the year is action-packed from the very start. The cars are close together into the first curve, with Duval defending his leading position. It gets a little too tight behind him between Marcel Fessler and Sebastian Buemi coming out of the curve, causing the latter to slide off the track. Shortly after, Buemi sees an opportunity. The Toyota passes Marcel Fessler's Audi R18 e-tron Quattro and ends Audi's double lead for the time being. Fessler counterattacks, but Buemi keeps the Audi driver behind him like a tough Texan. There's another close call between the two LMP cars several minutes after the first collision. Fessler makes a move on Buemi and just barely squeezes by the Toyota, but shortly after, the Swiss driver flies hard over the curb while trying to lap another car. Buemi takes advantage of the situation and passes Fessler's Audi. Fessler's forced to make a pit stop to repair the damage and loses a lap. After the first pit stops, Toyota continues moving forward towards the front, but the number 2 Audi's back on the track for the counterattack with Alan McNish's brilliant overtaking maneuver. After a faultless performance, Loic Duval, Tom Christensen, and Alan McNish finished the race in first. But it's not just any victory, rather a very special one.
I'm just told now, walking out here, that this is the 100th victory, sports car race victory for Audi. And that's amazing. That's just a testament to everyone involved from Ingolstadt, Neckarsulm. Such an incredible time. And it's also nice, I do remember that I was part of the very first one with Frank Bila and Emmanuel Pirro in Sebring with the same team, of course, Audi Sport Team Just.
With this latest victory and now leading by 33 points ahead of the defending champions, the newly crowned Le Mans winners head to the opening Asian race in Fuji, Japan. The WEC is welcomed to Japan by countless fans at the base of the picturesque Mount Fuji. The Japanese excitement for racing is legendary, and the race promises to be a highly competitive and extremely exciting for the fans.
Starting behind the safety car, cars in single file.
But it doesn't quite work out that way. The race starts behind the safety car under an increasingly strong downpour of rain and consequently is put on hold several times. The weather gods still show no mercy hours after the race starts. And so, due to safety concerns, the race is ended prematurely behind the safety car, without the race cars ever once completing an unobstructed lap.
Sorry guys.
Ultimately, Toyota benefits from the world champion's pit stop for repairs and claims its first victory of the season in Fuji. Despite a victory for Toyota and a race that never really takes place, there's still a reason for Audi to celebrate, because Audi already wins the manufacturer's title 2 races before the end of the season.
I'm really happy that we could clinch the World Endurance Champion title again for the second time in a row. So we have 100% of chances used. Yes, we would have preferred to do it in a proper race, but on the other hand, we won all the races until now, so I think the team really earns the title.
As newly crowned champions, both Audi trios enter the Middle Kingdom for the second to last race of the season. Loic Duval, Tom Christensen, and Alan McNish have the chance to win the driver's title ahead of time at the Shanghai International Circuit. 4th place is all that's needed for the Le Mans winners to win the driver's title. But it's not an easy task, since Toyota performs extremely well on the Chinese track, just like last year. into the race sandwiched between both Toyotas, Andre Lotterer in the number 1 Audi is immediately put under great pressure. 18 minutes into the race, Lotterer and Davidson's cars collide and the Toyota is able to get past the factory driver from Ingolstadt. It looks like a clear victory for Toyota up to the middle of the race. But then the different classes of cars are reordered. The number 7 Toyota is forced to make an unscheduled pit stop because of problems with its tires. Shortly after, the other Toyota, currently in the lead, has to drop out of the race due to damage to the suspension after braking in the 6th curve. The order remains for a while as the race continues, despite Nicolas Lapierre's spin. But the Toyota's next pit stop, approximately 55 minutes before the end of the race, gives the number 1 Audi the lead position again. Then the next problem. A fire breaks out in the pit lane in the number 50 box when the fueling station catches fire, but it's quickly extinguished without serious damage. And the proverbial track's on fire towards the end of the race too. A fierce battle for victory takes place between the Toyota and number 1 Audi 30 minutes before the end of the race. Benoit Trellier apparently absorbed the Chinese track as he musters up his courage and catapults his Audi ahead of Alexander Wurz to win the race. But the greatest jubilation goes to Loic Duval, Tom Christensen and Alan McNish, who finished the race in 3rd place and win the championship title ahead of time in Shanghai.
We are incredibly proud of winning such a prestigious title.
Crossing the line and seeing all the guys jumping up and down was really such a special moment that it's going to be pictured in my mind for the rest of my life.
Now being world champion, it's massive. You know, I still can't believe it, and but it was great. You know, the whole season was fantastic.
The manufacturer from Ingolstadt's overjoyed, since it's pretty much achieved everything it could in this year's WEC season so far, and done it by the second to last race of the season. The Kingdom of Bahrain welcomes the WEC for the 8th and last race of the season. The race on the Bahrain International Circuit isn't crucial for the LMP1 cars earning championship points, so the mood is pretty relaxed.
Welcome to Bahrain!
After a highly competitive qualifying, both Toyotas start the race in the first row. Both Audi cars are directly behind, waiting to pounce. The first attacks happen directly after the race starts. Tom Christensen makes a move on the outside and advances to 3rd position by passing his brand colleague Benoit Trellier. The season finale passes into night and the track experiences spins without serious consequences and a few collisions and dropouts. In addition to the number 7 Toyota, the newly crowned champions sports prototype drops out of the race early due to technical problems. And Toyota confidently wins its 2nd WEC race of the season. Last year's winners finished the race in 2nd place, concluding an extremely successful year for Audi.
Unfortunately, we couldn't win the last race, but on the other hand, we had strong competitors and for sure they have been better today. So it's fine that they could win this race. Next year, another battle, new challenges, looking forward.
The 2013 WEC season is history, but the upcoming season is already being prepared and promises to be extremely exciting with its new regulations and new challenges.
Tu opinión nos interesa. Si tienes algo que decirnos, envíanos un mail. Esperamos tus sugerencias.